Which American movie hero was both named after a French poet and a new type of apple? His name is, of course, John Rambo. Rambo, the all-American patriotic fighting machine whenever the US is threatened, from the inside by criminals or corrupt officials, or from the outside by terrorists and dictators. We know that Rambo will swoop in and save the day in his own signature way, which is shoot first, ask questions later. What few people know, however, is that Rambo was based on a literary character and that there is major tension between the original book and the later films. So how did we get there? Let's go and find out. In the late 1960s, American author David Morrell was pondering the Vietnam War and its effects on American society. On the one hand, he saw American soldiers returning from Vietnam being heavily traumatized, while on the other hand, he saw Americans protesting that war ever more forcefully, with even small factions calling for armed resistance against American intervention in Vietnam. This led David Morrell to develop the Rambo character. Rambo is a Vietnam veteran. He is heavily traumatized and he is feared and distrusted by his surroundings. So Rambo roams the country until in a small American town he is arrested by a local sheriff. Rambo knows no better than to act out, break out of prison, head into the forests and start a one-man guerrilla war against local police and state troopers.
Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Morrell's book is an indictment against American society and the way that it dealt with Vietnam veterans. How can you send all those people to fight a war in Vietnam without having any clue about what to do when they return? So Rambo in the book is a tragic character, somebody to feel sorry for. The first Rambo film follows the book rather closely. The tone is somber and sober, and you really do feel sorry for Rambo. But the moment when he heads into the forests of Kentucky to start his one-man war, something changes. Rambo transforms from an anti-hero into somebody to root for, from somebody who had fought in Vietnam against guerrillas and lost, to somebody who was his own guerrilla, but then in America. We follow that development. In the second Rambo film, Rambo heads back to Vietnam to himself become a guerrilla fighting against the Vietnamese, this time with success. And in the third Rambo film, he heads to Afghanistan to help the Mujahideen, also known as Taliban, against the Soviets. As Rambo transforms from a tragic anti-hero into an all-American patriot, the violence becomes ever more grotesque. In the very first Rambo film, Rambo shoots a helicopter out of the sky. In the third Rambo film, he drives a tank over a ramp, makes it jump so that in the sky it can crash into a helicopter and then survive that whole ordeal. And as Rambo transformed, he actually became a mouthpiece of conservative Reagan-esque views on American foreign policy. And indeed, Reagan actually referred to Rambo in his speeches.
And in the spirit of Rambo, let me tell you, we're gonna win this time.
And then a second transformation took place. The first Rambo film was based on the book. But with the sequels, David Morrell was actually invited to write books based on the movie scripts. Instead of the films following the books, it was now the books following the films. And as these films became ever more popular, the critical acclaim for Morrell's books waned. Morrell himself has called the book and the films two trains driving in opposite directions. Rambo has transformed into an all-American hero and icon. The word Rambo is even included in the Oxford Dictionary. As action films, they hold up rather well. As commentaries on American foreign policy, they are controversial at best. But if you want to get a more nuanced and clear understanding of the Rambo character and phenomenon, the original book is the place to go.